Amateur Radio News and Notes for March 14th, 2025. Happy Pi Day. This is Ed Kavik, November 2, Echo Charlie. And in the log this week, we've got a contest spotlight talking about the Virginia QSO Party that's going to be going this weekend. MVARC Nets on the air. What's happening with DX? Also give you a solar activity update. Got some news on the activity we've been having the last few days, as well as some upcoming contests and some interesting online radio content. The Virginia QSO Party, run by the Sterling Park Amateur Radio Club, will be held this weekend, March 15th to 16th, 2025. The fun starts at 1400 UTC, that's 10 a.m. Eastern, on Saturday, going until 4 o'clock UTC on Sunday, or Saturday at midnight Eastern Daylight Time. And then it starts back up on Sunday at 1200 UTC, that's 8 a.m. East, going until 2400 UTC, or 8 p.m. Eastern Time. This contest is a whole lot of fun, with lots of opportunities to work all over, since everyone will be trying to get Virginia stations in their logs. There are a lot of awards and 30 plaques waiting for you to win them. As we heard in Gordon Miller NQ4K's talk at our last meeting, there are a lot of niches available for competition, and all Virginia stations get a certificate when they participate. The VAQP has been growing a lot since it was started, and it has some of the highest participation in all the state QSO parties in terms of logs submitted, third behind California and Florida, if I remember correctly, and it's quite possibly the most popular QSO party contest when normalized for state population. There are some new additions for 2025, including allowing remote operation and bonus stations for extra points, including AJ4LN, KK4AIA, KM4SK, NQ4K, W4KSN, and W8ANT. As always, there are a lot of different categories in which you can participate. From a station perspective, this includes mobile, which is a station that can operate while in motion and doesn't require disconnections to move; a rover station, which can also operate mobile but also can operate outside of the vehicle and change equipment; expedition, which can move to non-permanent stations but is not utilizing a mobile station for that operation. You have to set up once you get there; and of course fixed, which is your home station. From a power perspective, there's high, which is over 150 watts, low, under 150 watts, and QRP, which is 5 watts or less. Modes include phone, CW, digital, and mixed, if you do more than one mode. Stations can be single or multi-operator, single or multi-transmitter, and single or multi-band. All these options mean that you really can focus your operating to chase after a plaque that interests you. For the rules, Virginia stations can work everyone, and out-of-state stations can only work Virginia. Fixed stations can work once per band and mode. Mobiles can be worked again in different counties or independent cities. Mobile stations should use a suffix in the call sign to denote their mobile status. Some things that are specifically allowed in the contest include working via satellites, remote stations, and the use of spotting networks, including self-spotting. They're all permitted. On the flip side of things, cross-mode repeaters and QSOs are not allowed. On one other thing of note, logs with a significant number of QSOs in the same stations will be considered. Check logs. In terms of the exchange, it'll be QSO number and QTH. So if you worked me, the exchange would be 123 FFX, where 123 is my current QSO count, and FFX is the abbreviation for Fairfax County. That's where I am. Non-Virginia stations would be the QSO number and their state, province, or country. So 001 PA for a station in Pennsylvania, just starting out. One thing of note, digital is allowed, but rarely worked because you need to get the full exchange. FT8 does not have an easy way to do this. You can change your own details, but the answering station is unlikely to have the serial number and state, province, or country the required exchange. As a result, the digital plaque has not been awarded in the last few years. But that said, if you make a RIDI, Olivia, or other digital mode run, you're very likely to win that plaque. Points are 1 for phone and 2 for CW and digital, 3 for mobile, rover, and expedition stations. Multipliers are for each Virginia county and independent city, all 133 of them. U.S. states, including Virginia, of course, Canadian provinces, and DXCC entities, excluding the U.S., Canada, Alaska, and Hawaii. For mobile, rover, and expedition stations, if they work 10 stations in a county or city, they can also claim it as a multiplier for themselves. For DX stations, the multipliers they get to claim are Virginia counties and cities. There's also bonus points for working bonus stations, and the final score is the QSO points times the multipliers plus the bonus points. Logs need to be submitted by April 15th, either electronically, which is the preferred method, or via email. Full rules and a whole lot of information can be found at qsl.net/sterling/VAQSO Party/2025VQP/2025VQP main.html. Links, as always, in the show notes. If you want to hunt some of the mobile rover and expedition stations, K1RA has put together an APRS mobile tracker for the VAQP at k1ra.us/VAQP-APRS. Again, links in the show notes. And general spots can be found at www.QSOparty.com. This year promises to be one of the best Virginia QSO parties yet, with ever-increasing participation and with us being at the height of Solar Cycle 25. As Gordon NQ4K told us at the meeting, if you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong. So get on the air and have fun. And if you do submit a log, make sure to mention you're part of the Mount Vernon Amateur Radio Club if you're a member. It would be fun to see the club in the standings for the club competition. Have fun and good luck. MVARC Nets on the air. We got a few. 2-meter FM net is on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. on the repeater, and immediately following the FM net, we have our C4 FM digital net on the repeater just afterwards. We also have a couple of HF nets, including the Mount Vernon Amateur Radio Club Slow Speed CW Roundtable. That is Saturday and Sundays at 7:30 a.m. at 3.565 megahertz CW. We usually go about 12 to 15 words a minute, and we'll slow down to whatever you're comfortable with. And that's followed at 8:30 a.m. on Saturday and Sunday by the MVARC Cherry Tree Net. And that is at 3.920 megahertz lower sideband. And we would love to have you join the conversation. Hope to hear you there. All right, well, let's talk about what's going to be happening with DX this week. There's going to be a lot of DX on the air, including stations from the Andaman Islands, Jamaica, St. Martin Island, Eleuthera Island in the Bahamas, Grenada, Tanzania, Mali, Comoro Islands, Solomon Islands, Sri Lanka, Benin, and Senegal. A calendar of DX expeditions can always be found at dxnews.com/calendar. All right, now it's time for the solar activity update. As we go to press, the solar flux index was 160, and the estimated sunspot number was also 160. Over the last week, the SFI has slightly increased, and in the last few days, solar conditions have been degraded due to solar storms with an elevated KP index values. Yesterday brought a G1 level geomagnetic storm and KP values of KP5. The KP index is forecast to come down today and tomorrow, with values around 3 today and in the low to mid 2s tomorrow, so we expect for conditions to improve for the weekend. Solar activity has been at low levels, with only low-level C-class flares being observed. Geomagnetic conditions are expected to be unsettled to active today and tomorrow. There is only a 1% chance for S1 or greater solar radiation storms for the next few days, according to NOAA forecasts. In terms of radio blackouts, the chance for an R1 to R2 blackout is at 40%, and the chance for R3 or greater radio blackouts is at 5%. Periods of G1 geomagnetic storms are possible through the 15th, and solar wind features are enhanced due to coronal hole high-speed streams. Even with the challenges of the last couple of days, conditions have been favorable overall. Things look to be calming down in time for this week's Virginia QSO Party. It remains a fantastic time for amateurs of all license classes to get on the air and work the world. Good sources of real-time solar information include spaceweatherlive.com and solarham.com. A good overview of conditions can be found at dx.qsl.net/propagation. And to see D-layer absorption data and associated radio blackouts, visit the NOAA's DRAP predictions page. Links, of course, as always, in the show notes. To see real-time maximum usable frequency and critical frequency FOF2 information from radio SON data, make sure to check out prop.kc2g.com. And now we'll look at upcoming contests. The contesting highlight for this weekend, as mentioned earlier, is the Virginia QSO Party. Also on the contest calendar is the PODXS 070 Club St. Patrick's Day Contest, the BARTG HF RIDI Contest, the Popov Memorial Contest, the F9 AA Cup on single sideband, the Russian DX Contest, the AGCW VHF and UHF Contest, the Feldhell Sprint, the AWA John Rollins Memorial DX Contest, the UPA Spring Contest on SSB, and the Run for the Bacon QRP Contest. As always, the K1USN SSTs, MSTs, and CWTs will also be on the air. The full contest calendar with events and exchanges can be found at contestcalendar.com. And finally, we got a whole mess of interesting radio content as usual. Starts out with Matt M0DKW taking a look at the Baofeng BF UVF32 tribander. He finds some spectral purity issues, but looks like an interesting radio nonetheless. Bob WV7W gives us some tips on how to adjust your bug. Lewis M3HHY uses a tiny SA Ultra to explore RF signals at a transmitter site. Mike K8MRD takes a look at the VGC VR N76, also known as the BTEC UV Pro, and he likes what he sees. Steve KM9G does the Mars mod for his FT5D. Michael KB9VBR shows how he set up a mobile multi-op, multi-transmitter station for the Wisconsin QSO Party. Josh KI6NAZ deploys the spool antenna with the Little Dude 6 mast. Sean W9FFF builds a Meshtastic node with a Spec 5 Trekker case. Mike K8MRD talks podologs and Thorn operations. Tim G5TM sees how long he can run a portable station with a lithium iron phosphate battery. Rob N1NUG takes a look at the tiny SA Ultra. Walt K4OGO takes a look at how to get and how not to get the benefits of saltwater for HF. Kevin KB9RLW shows the final design of his clever 29-to-1 harmonic drive for a magloop antenna. Jim WT1W talks about using oscilloscopes for doing some power measurements. Hayden VK7HH unearths ham radio treasures on AliExpress. Matt M0DQW builds a cheap 350-watt remote ATU. Sean W9FFF shows that some claims on 18650 batteries listed at Amazon are inaccurate. Dan WD4DAN and Sebastian KI2D go over new features in the Ham2K Polo portable logger. Kurt ON7OFF, also known as HS0ZPX, live streams from working DX from Thailand. Nanofix DIYs a powerful soldering fume extractor. Kevin W1DED talks to DX Marathon Youth Award winner Pia DL7 PIA about her activities in amateur radio. Thomas K4SWL activates POTA with an Index Labs QRP+. Duff WA7BFN brings the latest LICW podcast with discussions about working satellites and more. Steve KM9G talks about getting kids interested in amateur radio. Kurt ON7OFF takes a look at the soon-to-be-released Micro PA100 amp. Vince V6LK takes a look at the Wiretap 3D printed paddles from VE6 SFX. Andy DL6FA has a QSO using 3 different CW keys all at once. Lydiette KQ3Q and Junie N1DUC activate Biscayne National Park with Mochi, the duck. And Dugbo KD7DUG has a summit-to-summit contact with KG6YJ. That's it for this week. This is Ed, November 2 Echo Charlie. Thank you very much for joining us here for the Amateur Radio News and Notes podcast. We do this one every week now, and we're glad that you're along for the ride. So hope you have a great week ahead, and we'll see you on the next one. Best 73.